If you've started seeing extra strands collecting in your hairbrush, or you've noticed your ponytail doesn't feel as full as it used to, this message is for you. There's a particular pattern of hair thinning that physicians in the United States pay very close attention to, especially in women over 50. And here's what many women never suspect. Something as ordinary as the nuts you snack on could be quietly pushing that problem in the wrong direction or helping you turn it around. Everything I'm sharing today is tailored for women in the US and Europe, based on research from American universities and supported by medical studies that are relevant to us. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 4 nuts that can support stronger, thicker-looking hair and help bring back resilience. But I'm also going to expose 4 common nuts that may be undermining your progress without you realizing it. And the final problem nut might truly surprise you because it's sitting in a huge number of American kitchens right now. Before we get into the list, please hit the like button and leave a comment with your age so we can build a community of women supporting each other through these changes. Now, let's get into what's really going on with your hair, and we'll start with the nuts that can actually help. 1. Almond. We're starting with number 1 on the list, almonds. In the US, it's common for doctors and nutrition professionals to bring up almonds when women come in worried about thinning hair. They may look like nothing more than an easy snack, but almonds contain nutrients that directly support the scalp environment where your hair is trying to grow. One of the key reasons almonds matter is their biotin content. Don't get stuck on the science term. Think of biotin as nourishment for the cells that help create hair. After 50, the body often doesn't absorb nutrients as efficiently as it once did. Research from universities in the United States has highlighted that many women in this age group can become low in biotin without any obvious warning signs. And your hair follicles, the tiny structures in your scalp, responsible for producing each strand, depend on that support to function at their best. When biotin levels dip, follicles can slow down, and the hair they produce may become weaker, finer, and more likely to shed. What makes almonds even more valuable is that they also provide vitamin E. Vitamin E acts like a protective barrier helping defend the scalp from damage. Picture your scalp as the soil your hair grows from. Vitamin E helps keep that soil in healthier condition, so growth is more supported. A study frequently discussed by US clinicians has noted that women who increased vitamin E intake saw visible improvements in hair thickness over the course of several months. The good news is, you don't need to overdo it. You're not meant to eat an entire bag at once. Many US nutritionists suggest a modest, serving daily a small handful, roughly around 20 almonds. Add them to oatmeal in the morning, sprinkle them over a salad, or keep a small container in your purse so you have a simple snack ready in the afternoon. The most important factor is consistency. Hair changes take time, so you won't see a dramatic shift overnight. But over the coming weeks and months, many women report that their hair feels stronger and snaps less easily. 2. Walnuts. Next on the list at number 2 is walnuts, and they're especially worth paying attention to because they relate to changes many women experience after menopause. You've probably heard about omega-3 fatty acids, mostly in conversations about fish, but walnuts are one of the few nuts that provide omega-3s in amounts that actually matter. Here's why that's important for your hair. As we get older, especially after 50, inflammation tends to rise in the body. You may not always notice it, but it can be happening quietly in the background, and that includes the scalp. When the scalp is inflamed, hair growth conditions decline. It's like trying to grow plants in stressed, unhealthy soil. Everything becomes more difficult, and the follicles struggle to do their job. The omega-3s in walnuts help bring inflammation down, supporting a calmer, healthier scalp environment. Medical research from US centers has noted that women who increase omega-3 intake often report improvements not only in hair quality, but also in scalp comfort, less irritation, less itching, and a better foundation for growth. Walnuts also offer another benefit that's surprisingly relevant for women in our age group: copper. Copper doesn't get much attention in everyday nutrition conversations, but it plays a role in supporting hair structure and maintaining the integrity of the hair you already have. No, walnuts won't magically stop gray hair that's largely determined by genetics, but copper can help keep hair from becoming overly fragile and brittle. And that matters because hair health isn't just about how much hair you have. It's also about the feel and strength of it hair that can handle brushing, styling, and daily life without snapping and thinning further. A common suggestion from U.S. health professionals is to eat walnuts regularly in modest amounts, such as about 7 to 10 walnut halves several times per week. You can mix them into yogurt, bake them into healthier muffins, chop them over a salad, or simply eat them plain. Some women even keep a small bag in the car for quick snacking while running errands. What makes walnuts so valuable is that they support hair health, internally working on underlying scalp conditions and follicle function in a way that creams and topical products simply can't reach. 3 Brazil nuts. Walnuts are impressive, but the next nut on the list can be even more impactful, especially for the kind of thinning that's most common in women over 50. If you've never had them before, Brazil nuts are larger than most nuts, with a rich, almost buttery taste. But what really makes them stand out isn't the flavor, it's what they provide for your thyroid. And this matters for your hair in a way many women never connect. The thyroid is a small gland in your neck, yet it helps regulate metabolism, energy, and yes, the hair growth cycle. Research from universities in the United States has shown that thyroid issues are extremely common in women our age, and one of the earliest signs can be increased shedding or visible thinning. The nutrient that ties Brazil nuts to thyroid support is selenium. Selenium is essential for healthy thyroid function, and Brazil nuts are one of the most concentrated food sources of selenium available. In fact, for many people, just 1 or 2 Brazil nuts a day can provide what the thyroid needs. Here's why that matters. When the thyroid doesn't have enough selenium, it can begin to slow down. And when thyroid activity drops, the entire body can feel it: energy levels, metabolism, and the timing of hair growth. Hair can start to look flat, dry, and lifeless, and shedding may increase beyond what feels normal. That's why in the US, doctors often check thyroid markers when women over 50 report sudden thinning or heavy hair loss. And it's common for results to show the thyroid isn't working optimally. One important caution with Brazil nuts is not better, because they're so selenium dense. Eating too many can push selenium intake too high. The FDA advises keeping selenium within safe limits, and with Brazil nuts, that usually means about 1 to 3 nuts per day at most. You can eat them plain as a quick snack, chop one and sprinkle it over a salad or blend one into a smoothie. The key is small amounts consistently. What many women notice after a few months of including Brazil nuts regularly is that shedding starts to ease first. Less hair in the brush, less hair in the shower. That's often the earliest sign something is shifting in the right direction. Then over time, they may begin spotting new growth fine baby hairs along the hairline or at the crown. It takes patience because hair grows in cycles, but by supporting the thyroid through selenium, you're helping create a healthier internal foundation for growth. And there's still one more nut that can support your hair, and the final one targets a common issue almost every woman over 50 faces, yet rarely links back to hair health. 4. Cashew. The top nut for supporting hair growth after 50 is the cashew. And if that answer catches you off guard, you're in good company. Cashews rarely get the spotlight they deserve, but they provide a nutrient your hair is craving, especially in this stage of life, and that nutrient is zinc. Think of zinc as your body's repair and building crew. It's involved in constructing and restoring tissues everywhere, including the scalp and the tiny structures that produce each strand of hair. After 50, many women absorb zinc less efficiently than they did earlier in life, and low zinc is more common than most people realize. Studies frequently referenced by U.S. clinicians link inadequate zinc levels with hair loss, especially diffuse, thinning, the kind where hair becomes sparse all over the head, rather than in one isolated area. That's the pattern American doctors commonly see in women after menopause. What makes this problem easy to miss is that zinc deficiency often starts quietly. It usually doesn't wave a red flag right away. You might feel a little more fatigued than usual or notice your sense of taste isn't quite as sharp, but nothing that immediately screams, "This is zinc." Meanwhile, your hair follicles are feeling it. Zinc helps follicles move through their normal growth cycle. Without enough, follicles can get stuck in the resting phase, and follicles that stay resting aren't producing new hair. Cashews are a simple food-based way to bring zinc intake back up. About a quarter cup of cashews provides a meaningful amount of zinc, along with other supportive minerals, such as iron and magnesium, that benefit overall health. That's why many U.S. nutritionists include cashews in balanced nutrition plans for women in this age group. They're also easy to use in everyday meals. You can snack on roasted cashews, blend them into a creamy sauce for vegetables, or make cashew butter and spread it on apple slices. Their naturally smooth texture makes them simple to incorporate without feeling like you're forcing down something you don't enjoy. Many women who add cashews consistently report that after a few months, their hair feels fuller and sturdier. Individual strands become stronger, which leads to less breakage during brushing and styling. And that's a big deal because sometimes the goal isn't only to grow more hair, it's to protect the hair you already have, so it stays healthy and intact. But there's an important next point. While these 4 nuts can be excellent allies for hair health, there are other common nuts that could be quietly working against your progress. Most women don't realize they may be making things worse. The caution nuts I'm about to share are sitting in pantries all over America right now, and one of them is especially worrying for a reason you probably won't expect. Let's start with the first risky option, number 4 on the caution list. This one surprises a lot of women because it has such a healthy reputation: peanuts. Technically, peanuts aren't true nuts at all. They're legumes, and they can become an issue for hair health in ways that rarely get talked about. Before you think I'm saying peanuts are bad, here's the specific concern. Peanuts are more vulnerable than many foods to contamination, with aflatoxin, a mold-related toxin that can develop on crops, especially when they are stored in warm, humid environments. This has been documented in medical research at American universities and is something the FDA monitors. Aflatoxin matters because it can place stress on the liver, and that's where the hair connection comes in. Your liver plays a major role in processing nutrients, clearing toxins, and supporting hormone balance. When the liver is overworked or under strain, something doctors often see from multiple sources, it can't perform those jobs efficiently. Hormone disruption becomes more likely, and hormone balance is a key piece of hair health, particularly after menopause. In the US, clinicians regularly see women with unexplained shedding who also have underlying liver stress, and while peanuts aren't the only possible contributor, they can add to the burden if they're eaten frequently. The real issue isn't having peanuts once in a while, it's the steady high intake that many women don't even think about. Peanut butter on toast every morning, a handful of peanuts as a daily snack, peanut sauce at dinner several times a week. It accumulates quickly. There's another concern too. Peanuts are among the most common allergens, and even if you don't have dramatic allergy symptoms, mild sensitivities can still create low-grade inflammation in the body. And as we've already discussed, inflammation can interfere with scalp comfort and the hair growth cycle. If your system is constantly managing subtle inflammation from a food sensitivity, that's energy and resources not being directed towards strong, steady hair production. To be clear, I'm not telling you that you can never eat peanuts again, but many U.S. doctors recommend limiting them and choosing other nut options more often. If you do eat peanuts, look for brands that specifically test for aflatoxin and choose organic when you can. Most importantly, pay attention to your own pattern. Do you notice more shedding during weeks when peanuts are a daily habit? That's information worth listening to. And as concerning as peanuts can be, the next risky nut comes with a completely different problem, one that directly affects something your follicles need in order to grow: 2 pecans. Now let's move to risky nut number 3, and this one surprises nearly everyone I speak with. Pecans, especially the candied and sweetened versions that flood stores around the holidays, can quietly undermine your hair goals. In their plain natural form, pecans aren't automatically harmful. The problem is how they're usually eaten in real life. In America, pecans most often show up covered in sugar, baked into pies, or stirred into desserts. And the added sugar is the real issue. Research from U.S. universities has repeatedly connected high sugar intake with increased hair loss, particularly in women over 50. Here's why. When you eat sugary foods, blood sugar rises quickly, and the body releases insulin to bring it back down. If those spikes happen often enough, cells can become less sensitive to insulin over time. That pattern, known as insulin resistance, is extremely common after menopause. So, how does that reach your hair? Insulin resistance can disrupt hormone handling in the body, especially androgens. Yes, women naturally produce small amounts of male-type hormones, but when insulin resistance is present, androgen activity can increase. And elevated androgen activity can cause follicles to shrink, especially near the crown and hairline, creating the diffuse thinning pattern U.S. doctors see so often in female patients. Pecans do contain helpful nutrients, but once they're prepared, the way most Americans consume them with sugar coatings and often added fats, they can shift from beneficial to problematic. The holiday season makes this especially tricky. Pecan pie is everywhere, and many women don't connect heavier shedding in January or February with what they were eating in November and December. And sugar isn't the only concern. Pecans are also very calorie-dense and high in omega-6 fatty acids. Omega-6s aren't inherently bad, but when they're consumed in large amounts, especially without enough omega-3s to balance them, they can drive inflammation. And inflammation in the scalp creates poor growing conditions for hair. The typical American diet is already overloaded with omega-6 fats from vegetable oils and processed foods, so piling on large amounts of pecans can push that imbalance even further. If you enjoy pecans, the safest approach is simple. Keep them plain, unsweetened, and modest in portion. Treat them as an occasional addition, not a daily snack. Choose raw or dry roasted pecans without syrups or added sugars. And be realistic about serving size, because pecans are easy to overeat without noticing. One mindless handful while watching TV can quickly turn into several hundred calories and a heavy omega-6 load. But the next risky nut I need to warn you about comes with a completely different issue, one that can interfere with how your body absorbs nutrients your hair depends on: 3 hazelnuts. The last risky nut I want to mention is one that most women don't even think about as a nut anymore, because it's so often hidden inside sweets hazelnuts. On their own plain, hazelnuts can be part of a healthy diet. But that's not how most American and European women are eating them. In real life, hazelnuts usually show up in chocolate bars, dessert toppings, and especially in sweet spreads that are slathered on toast waffles, or eaten by the spoonful straight from the jar. The problem here isn't just the hazelnuts themselves, but the package they come in: high-sugar refined oils and sometimes added emulsifiers. That combination hits your blood sugar hard, triggering the same insulin spikes and crashes we talked about with pecans in sugary desserts. Over time, frequent spikes contribute to insulin resistance, which alters how your body handles hormones and can increase the activity of androgens that shrink hair follicles. Many women notice more shedding and overall thinning when their diet includes a lot of sugary snacks and spreads, but they rarely connect it to the hazelnut-based treats they're enjoying every day. There's another layer to consider. These chocolate hazelnut spreads and candies are extremely calorie-dense. A couple of tablespoons or a few small pieces of chocolate can easily stack up to hundreds of calories. For women over 50, that can mean gradual, stubborn weight gain around the middle, and abdominal fat is strongly associated with hormonal imbalances and inflammatory markers that do your hair no favors. If you love hazelnut flavors, you don't have to ban them forever, but be honest about how you're eating them. A few plain unsalted hazelnuts, as an occasional snack, are very different from a daily habit of hazelnut spread on white toast. Reserve those sugary hazelnut treats for special occasions, keep portions modest, and avoid thinking of them as a healthy nut option for hair. When it comes to supporting your hair after 50, the way hazelnuts are usually packaged in the modern diet makes them a risky choice rather than a helpful one. 4. Macadamia nuts. The number one risky nut that can quietly undermine hair health is a controversial one to bring up, but it's important you understand why. Macadamia nuts are often marketed as a premium healthy choice, yet they can become a problem for hair if you're not careful, and the reasons tend to surprise people. Let's start with the most obvious factor: fat and calories. Macadamias are among the highest fat nuts you can eat. Yes, a portion of that fat is the heart-friendly monounsaturated type, but the overall amount is still significant. 1 ounce of macadamia nuts contains more than 20 grams of fat and over 200 calories. For women over 50 who are mindful of weight and weight management is tied to hormone balance, which influences hair. It's extremely easy to overconsume macadamias without realizing how quickly those calories add up. But the bigger concern is the fatty acid balance. Macadamia nuts have a very high omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, one of the most imbalanced among commonly eaten nuts. And as we've discussed, excessive omega-6 intake can push the body toward inflammation. Inflammation doesn't just affect joints or the heart. It can show up on the scalp as well, and an inflamed scalp is not a friendly place for hair follicles to thrive. In the US, doctors often remind women that balancing these fats matters, especially when inflammation is part of the picture, including certain patterns of hair thinning. When macadamias are eaten frequently, they can nudge that balance in the wrong direction. There's another issue that doesn't get talked about nearly as much: digestion. Some women find macadamia nuts harder to digest, particularly as digestion becomes less efficient with age. And if digestion is struggling, nutrient absorption suffers across the board, not just from the nuts, but from everything you're eating. Some women experience bloating, gas, or discomfort after macadamias and never connect the dots. But gut health and nutrient absorption are directly linked, and when nutrients aren't being absorbed properly, hair often reflects that sooner or later. That's why nutrition experts, including guidance often emphasized by the FDA, highlight portion control with high-fat foods, and macadamias definitely fall into that category. The problem is, they taste so good. They're rich, they're easy to snack on, and it's incredibly common to sit down with a container and eat far beyond a true serving size without noticing. Suddenly you've taken in 500 or more calories, a heavy omega-6 load, and you've put extra strain on digestion. All of that can work against the hair goals you're trying to achieve. Medical research from American universities looking at inflammatory markers in women has also reinforced a key point. Diet strongly influences chronic inflammation, and the types of fats you eat can shift those inflammation levels in a meaningful way. Macadamias may have benefits in very small amounts, but they can become a problem when eaten the way many people eat them too often and in portions that are too large. If you love macadamias and don't want to eliminate them completely, here's the practical approach many US nutritionists recommend. Keep the serving tiny, just a few nuts at a time, around 5 or 6, and treat them like an occasional indulgence rather than a daily snack. Avoid eating them straight from the bag or container, because it's almost guaranteed you'll lose track. Portion them out ahead of time, and also consider what else is in your diet. If you're already consuming lots of omega-6 heavy foods, vegetable oils, processed snacks, or other high omega-6 nuts, it may be smarter to skip macadamias and choose options with a more supportive balance for hair health. So, here's the bottom line. Nuts can absolutely support stronger, fuller hair after 50, but the details matter. The right choices in the right portions can nourish your follicles, support thyroid and hormone balance, and calm inflammation. But the wrong choices, the wrong preparation, or simply eating too much of a healthy nut can quietly work against you. Your next step is simple. Choose one helpful nut to add consistently, and choose one risky habit to cut back on this week. Then watch what happens to your shedding, your scalp comfort, and how your hair feels over the next few months, because hair changes always show up with time. If you found this video useful, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. And comment your age plus the nut you're keeping and the nut you're limiting, so we can learn from each other and support one another through these changes.